Good morning.
Morning.
This is June 28th. Another lesson coming from Proverbs, 9th chapter. Solomon continues to write his wisdom in the book of Proverbs. In today's scripture, wisdom is portrayed as a woman. And folly, or the opposite of wisdom, is also portrayed as a woman. Wisdom invites us into her house. Her meal is prepared, and she is ready to give a party to change your life. Also, folly is sitting by her house also. The choice is yours from the invitations that the two, wisdom and folly, give to you. Today's lesson from Proverbs concludes our study of the different sayings or wisdoms that Solomon gave us. Wisdom personified as a woman, and folly personified as a woman. So let's look at these two contrasting preparations or presentations personified as the woman. First of all, wisdom. She has a home. She built a house. Imaginary, of course, but a large house. Described to be very perfect in every way, structurally. And the pillars are hand-hewn, hewed. They're carved from particular woods with hard work. 7 of those in number. Well, as we know, 7 represents completeness or perfection throughout the Bible. And we continue describing wisdom and her efforts to bring us children into her realm. She has prepared a meal, mixed her wines, and ready to set her table for us. Contrastly to that, folly is sitting by her house in a high place, which is normal for situations like these, inviting people to come and partake of stolen water, stolen food, and enjoy the good life. So the characteristics that are developing are between wisdom and the direction of the wise, and toward God's direction are folly toward the end that is not for our taking. The people that these two women, as portrayed in this lesson today, are actually looking toward bringing into their fold are those who have no sense, according to the scripture. That doesn't really transfer to today's understanding of no sense. It really means that a group of people that are choosing middle of the road, what we call in today's environment neutral. They'll listen to wisdom for a while, and then they'll listen to folly for a while, and they just can't make up their mind which way to go. Remember, though, it is the individual choices that they make that really sets the tone for what will happen to them on down the road. Wisdom begins by asking those invited to take part in the meal that she has prepared. And why is that so important in this lesson text? Well, food in the biblical sense is considered an intimate fellowship with another person. It was very important. So if you're invited for a meal, it's a pretty big deal back then. The implied fellowship is why, for example, Jewish Christians were initially so upset when Peter was accused of eating, quote unquote, with the uncircumcised. So the meal is an important thing. And then wisdom, we're talking with that side of the equation for a while. She asked these people that have no sense that just leave your simple ways. Move out of the middle of the road. You will live and walk in the insight of God if you choose to come with me. For a person to accept wisdom's invitation, the individual must abandon his or her quote-unquote simple ways. That is, stay in the middle of the road. In doing so, the person will also turn from foolishness, which is folly's way of life. The actions that would hinder one's ability to follow wisdom consistently. A person cannot walk with wisdom and with folly. You cannot serve both God and money. So do not be turned away when someone rebukes you or insults you. Pride usually lies at the root of such people that conduct themselves with scornful and contemptuous responses to that kind of thing. The wise person accepts the opportunity to be corrected and make that change. Appreciate the correction and accept what the person is trying to tell you. This leads us into a person that we all know, Dale Carnegie. Remember his book and his teaching between 1888 and 1955, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I must say, I never took a Dale Carnegie course, so you probably understand that from being around me. But anyway, trading insults with a scorner will only lead to antagonism. Remember, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Now we turn and start to describe folly's home. Folly is an unruly woman. No pun intended on women. Just that is a depiction here in the Bible. She is simple and knows nothing. Folly is a 180-degree contrast to wisdom. She's unruly, she's noisy. And why do they choose women or people? Well, that's something we can relate to. A person that would be noisy, loud, obnoxious, we would know what kind of personality goes along with that. Folly herself is simple. That is unfocused, wandering around, comparing to nothing. but one gets the impression she likes to sound knowledgeable. In reality, she needs wisdom, for she knows nothing. She sits at the front door of her house and invites people to come in. Folly is contrasted with wisdom in a manner that calls to mind the parable of Jesus, when he talked about the two houses that were built. First house was built on a sand foundation. The second house was built on a rock. Which one do you think would survive the storms? Jesus' houses, as he will explain centuries later, stands for two different ways of living. One built on a solid rock, lives built on a solid foundation, or the one on the shifting sands. Going back to folly, temptations she presents and calls straightway to the people to come in to feast with her. Here, however, we see the difference between the two invitations. The hostess cannot be more distinct. Folly has nothing from her own house to offer, as she brazenly refers to her provisions as stolen water, and there is no sense of shame or remorse when she says that. And food is eaten in secret, so why is it, from verse 17b, why is that? Because the food is stolen. So you can see how folly and the characteristics that we're describing are in no way the way we should go. But we know that people are set up to just from curiosity to see what she's got going on. The departing gift that folly has is death. Realm of the dead, the grave. That is what the end result is if you go with folly. Contrastly, if we look at wisdom, we have life everlasting. Excuse me. The concept of heaven and hell, as we understand it today, wasn't fully revealed by God when Solomon wrote this in Proverbs. To grasp that entirety, one must consider the teaching of the New Testament, which we'll get into in lessons coming forward. Heeding folly's invitation is sure a path to ruin. The clear contrast is found in wisdom's appeal, which promises long life. Folly, however, promises nothing but the grave. However, as today's lesson from Proverbs has pointed out, excuse me, the essentials of life and eternity come down to a single choice for us. The Lord watches over us, the way of righteousness before us, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. Two houses stand, but one will fall. Two meals are offered, but one is poisoned. Two hostesses extend invitation, but one is deceptive. It is up to each individual to decide which house they will enter. Remember, we got choices as individuals. And as we go through life, we make those choices. Some of them are bad, some of them are good. In this particular case, it is up to each individual to decide which house to enter, which meal to eat, and which invitation to accept. Choose wisely. Thank you.